Hey, Tom here again playing Kerbal Space Program, and I've got some more high-speed. Oh my god! Whoa! Okay. 2,000 meters per second. We're still in the atmosphere. Atmospheric aircraft to show you today. This one is built entirely around solid fuel boosters. I'm basically just trying this for the hell of it and built something pretty crazy. This guy again has if you saw my other video, I was experimenting with this nested Airstream protective shells. So you can see the final stage of this craft is a a hammer solid fuel booster, and it's got an Airstream shell on its nose with active radiators within. So I'm hoping that will let it go a little bit faster before the Airstream protective shell blows, and then the next stage is another Airstream shell around the entire final stage. So that should heat up, blow away. Then we've got some Thumper solid fuel boosters and the Kickback solid fuel boosters, and the whole thing's relatively balanced. So I've actually got these liquid fuel tanks just for weight on the back, so it's adding a lot of weight. So this thing, I don't know if that's a great idea, but it actually can fly pretty well, or it's pretty maneuverable. So I will show you guys. I'll try to load this. I'll try to fly this as low as possible in the atmosphere and see how fast it goes. This is pretty simple to fly because it's only 3 stages. So you just fire off the kickback boosters. We'll see if these actually. I think this will launch. And it's a pretty smooth takeoff so far. That's a little dicey. I'm gonna try to go. So I'm going to try to go as low as possible. I forgot. Alright. So let's keep this. Try to keep this horizontal. So now I am 535, 536. That's pretty flat. That looks good. Almost done with the first stage. Second stage. So those are the kickbacks, these are the thumpers. Now I'm actually dropping in altitude now. Oh shit, okay. For some reason I cannot go. I'm not pulling up. Oh no! Alright, let's try that again. This time I'm going to go a little bit higher in the atmosphere because I want to get a little more speed out of the first stage. And I don't have enough lift on the thumpers. And I don't want to go back in the spaceplane hangar and rebuild this thing or tweak this right now. So I'm just going to see if I go at a little bit of a higher angle. Do things turn out better? We'll see. So let's go. Let's try to go at like 15 degrees. So this thing is pretty long. Kind of cool. Weird idea. Kind of cool. Alright, about to start the next stage. There we go. And now I'm not dropping as much through the atmosphere. This guy is counterweighted. You can't really see it here. But there are some 4 tanks on I-beams at the back of the thumpers, because as they burn, the center of mass on the craft would shift forward. So I basically have that set up as a counterweight behind them. So it's definitely one of the disadvantages to the solid fuel design. So now I'm picking up speed. We're going to break 1,000 meters per second now. 10,000 meters in the atmosphere. Final stage is just this. What is it again? Hammer? And it's starting to overheat. But not quite. Sweet, not quite. We made it. I don't know what my max speed was there. We'll figure that out later, but over 1,600 meters per second, somewhere around 20,000 meters in altitude. So we're overheating again, and we're gonna hit an apoapsis around 40,000 meters and land maybe on the next continent. I'm gonna like aim for landing over here somewhere and see if I can just dive like a maniac. Here we go. Yeah, there we go. Gear popping out, hit the brakes on. I'm gonna have to land pretty fast, so I want to get prograde. Oh my god. Alright. Okay, so that did. I felt like I almost had that. But we're still alive, so success, right? Okay, solid fuel, final stage. And this is actually how I started building the craft. Final stage first. There it goes, takes off right away. Super balanced. Can go straight up, loop around. Oh my god! Whoa! Okay. That's cool. Alright. So this by itself is kind of fun to fly. It's like high speed, solid booster aircraft. So I think my problem with the landing was the liquid fuel on the back, the counterbalance. So when that hits, that blows up, and maybe there's like a chain reaction on those guys. I don't know. So I'm not gonna make it. This is gonna be bad. Oh god. Whoa. Whoa. Alright. Oh god. Hit the brakes. Land. Wow. So that was a surprisingly okay flight, and I've landed on right in between the tracks to the launch pad. Now you can see the center of mass on the final stage of the craft, where the solid fuel here is counterbalanced by the liquid fuel on the back. So I've got 8 of those tanks around the tail end of the booster, and if I drop the liquid fuel on this, you'll see the center of mass when I'm full on the solid fuel booster. As that burns, it's going to shift way forward, so I'd be dropping, or it'd be even harder to maintain altitude. So if I had those at 30 where they were before, it's like not quite as bad. So as this drops, so it's kind of like playing a game between, because you want to maintain the center of lift slightly behind the center of mass, because this thing produces so much thrust. You don't want to flip the aircraft around. But that was my strategy, and then basically did the same thing with the rest of the craft. Similar deal. This one was trickier because the thumpers. So now I have to counterbalance the front of the craft in the final stage plus the thumpers and get enough lift. So honestly, I could probably put more wings on this, but I've got I-beams extending to the rear where we've got ore on the back to act as the counterweight. And as these burn, there's basically no shift in the center of mass. So on the first, or I guess you'd say the third stage, I've got the kickbacks and a bunch of liquid fuel tanks. So I'm sure this is actually not great for my desire for speed and maximum speed and at low altitude with all this extra weight to counterbalance the thumpers. Yeah, but you can see here as these burn, again there's basically no shift in the center of mass. So I should be able to fly this thing if I'm not going for max speed. So instead of going for max speed, I'll try to see how maneuverable this actually is. So you can see this stage is almost flipping itself. So I could actually have the center of lift further back. That's gonna flip. Is it gonna flip? That's pretty crazy. Alright. So now I'm trying to get some pull up. So it can loop with all those guys. That's pretty cool. Next stage of the thumpers, these guys have trouble. I'm gonna see if this actually... I cannot get up. Pull up. Oh god. Oh, failure. So I'm gonna basically pull sideways and pull horizontal. I'm gonna lose control. So I basically did a 180, but have enough fuel, maybe, probably not, to come out of this. This is no good. Okay, so now I want to go higher. Okay, now we're gonna do a mid-air vertical launch. Because I know that thing doesn't fly. There we go. So this looks more like, not quite like an airplane, and more like a rocket. Definitely more like a rocket. But hey, that works. There you go. So once this gets going, it's all good. Okay, going for a speed run now. So I'm going to climb at about 45 degrees. So this thing definitely doesn't do well in the low atmosphere like I designed it to, or thought it might. But it does climb. I kind of wonder if I could land the entire thing. That would be... I'm not going to try that, but that might be a fun thing to try some other time. propellers firing. Now we're picking up speed. We'll break 1,000 meters per second. Right about now. And let's see. So really, the nested Airstream shells are not even hitting the max temp on this one. And the final stage. Let's see what we hit. (1800), 1900, 2,000 meters per second. We're still in the atmosphere. Now our suborbital trajectory. (2,500 meters per second). Right at the edge of the atmosphere. So that's probably as fast as I'm going to get this thing to go. Low atmosphere, maybe around 1,000, I don't know. And that definitely got hot. So we'll see. Alright, so we went pretty we're at apoapsis of 386,000 meters. And we will land. So if I did this right, I bet I could get orbital, which would be cool. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this one.